Welcome to another episode of the Mike and Matt Show with myself, Matt Weber, and my partner and co-host, Michael Strassen. This podcast is designed to help provide insight into the world of real estate investing, entrepreneurship, personal development, and business. Please subscribe, follow, and like the Mike and Matt Show on all podcast platforms. You can listen and watch the show on our YouTube channel, Alpha Funding. Be ready to level up your life and be inspired by some of the most successful investors and business professionals in the game. You'll laugh, you'll learn, you might cry. We hope you enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Mike and Matt Show. Michael, how are you, sir?
I'm good. What's going on, Matty?
I'm excited. It's just another good day.
Tell me why you're so excited.
Because it is the springtime, the weather.
That cannot be the only reason why you're excited.
Why?
Because we got Mike Gomes here today.
Of course I'm going to get to our guest, Mike Gomes.
So
you can't be excited over the weather.
Your order of operations is, I'm really excited. The weather's great today. But they're
not going to see the weather when the episode starts.
You guys can't cut this. This has to stay on.
This is staying. No, we have a tremendous guest here today. But let me tell you about the weather.
Yeah, let me tell you about the weather. Very groggy. 40-degree weather. I feel like I'm in Arizona.
I had a feeling this is how this podcast is done.
You know what the funny part is? We can make it a Mike and Mike show.
You can both have your own episode.
Wait.
As soon as he says
I feel like we should keep going.
No, you got to keep going.
This is a keep great. Going. We're keeping this because this is gold.
No, we're gonna restart.
No. We can't restart. That's perfect. This is great. I think you were getting to the point where you're going to introduce me.
Mike Gomes, he is the Chief Operating Officer of Signature Realty NJ. He's a realtor, real estate investor. You're a proud dad. You at Signature Realty have taken 87 agents and increased it to 400 plus in 17 months. You're a mortgage loan officer. You've done a lot in your life. How are you, buddy?
I am good, but I'm not as good as I would be if it was like a real spring day because it's raining outside and it's 42 degrees and it's cloudy.
Yeah.
I got to.
The weather should be getting better.
Yeah. I just want to say this because I want to look right at everybody. Yeah. We're in for a ride. That's just all I can feel. I feel it. We're in for a real ride right now.
I'm glad I got Matt nervous.
Yeah. Mike, I have a question for you. We start off all of our episodes.
I think you have many questions. Many questions.
Many questions.
Yeah.
In your own words, who is Michael Gomes?
A guy who's always looking to change for the better. That's who I really am, right? Yes, I run a company with John. We run a very successful independent brokerage in New Jersey, one of the largest ones today. I am a real estate investor, but my claim to fame is wanting to help as many people in my circle that I can without asking for anything back. And that wasn't always me. And I could tell you that today I genuinely and authentically love to help people, whether I know them or don't know them. That's been my mission in life over the course of the last couple of years since I've been a dad. And, the thing that changed about me once I became a father is I no longer do things for me. I do things for my family, for my wife, for my 2 kids. Every decision I make, I always ask myself, is that going to impact them in a positive way? Or is that going to impact them in an adverse way? Right? So I live for them. I live for the joy of seeing my kids every day and my family. And that's more impactful for me than anything else. Being at Signature is great. Being a real estate investor, that's awesome. But being able to know that you wake up every day, making an impact in the lives of so many people, which are some of the agents at Signature and some people outside and some people in my circle, that is what drives me every day. So that's who I am.
And I can speak about that firsthand. I remember when I first started with Alpha, David Hansel, my partner, he wanted me to go out to...
Shout out to Dave.
Yeah. Shout out to David Hansel. He wanted me to go out and meet some of our investors. And I had called you and basically David said, I want you to go. You're going to meet them at these properties. Go see them. Talk to them. Just get to know them. I had no idea what I was doing when I first started.
I remember it like yesterday. 1101 Plymouth Road in Rahway. You came in your Mercedes and you spilled.
That's way better than I could do it.
He spilled espresso all over his white shirt.
So I don't normally wear dress shirts anymore, but I had a white dress shirt.
I don't know the last time I saw you wear a white shirt.
Nice blazer.
He was dressed up.
And I went to Starbucks.
I was flattered, by the way.
I had a nice Starbucks, and this is when Starbucks started to phase out the straws. So they had that little cup with the little.
That's how this happened.
And as I'm drinking it, I'm not realizing that it's dripping all over my shirt. And I think I'm so cool. I'm Joe Cool. I'm pulling up to Mike's property. I'm like, I'm gonna act cool.
Oh my God, I wish I had a picture of this. This would have been great.
My confidence was shot as soon as I get up to the house, and Mike goes, "You got some coffee on your shirt."
That's exactly how we met. Yeah.
And after, I had to go to an event later that night, so I ran after I met Mike. I went to Walgreens,
bought a shirt,
and I bought 3 different. I bought 3 different tie pens. The tie pens, and I just was tie penning myself for about a half an hour. And I have to give you credit, Mike. You were welcoming, accepting. You have been supportive of me for the last 8 years, so I give you a lot of credit. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll say this much. I've known you for the last 8 years, Matt, and you never told me the story.
I never told you that?
You told me that you called Mike, was your first call. You went to go see him. Not once in 8 years did you tell me that you showed up with espresso down your shirt.
I didn't know I showed up with it.
Yeah.
But you knew.
He must have taken a last sip in the car and he realized it dripped on him. The lid must have been opened, right? It's happened to me, so don't worry about it, Matt. Right. So, and then he walks towards me. I'm on the construction site. It was an addle of a property that I was doing, and he's got it all over himself. I'm like, I think you just put some stuff there.
I never do that.
Yeah.
It's a new story for me.
Yeah.
I learned something about you all the time, Maddie. It's okay.
Yeah.
Hang on, I need to compose myself. So I have a question for you, because you're talking a lot about giving back, and one of the things that we do on the show, since we have a lot of entrepreneurs on.
Yeah.
And, Matt's setup question there about asking you, describe yourself. I always feel that talks a lot about people in their entrepreneur, what they do. Do you find that giving nature, the way you're doing it, because you don't want anything back, but you're giving anyways, do you find, even though you don't want it to, but do you find that it pays you back? Do you feel like you're doing it for the right reasons? You don't want anything, but all those moments where you're giving, do you feel that somewhere, somehow that comes back and it's positively influenced your business?
Yeah. I mean, it's influenced my entire life. I live a very good life. I have 2 beautiful kids. I have a beautiful family, I have a beautiful wife. I have a great lifestyle, right? I live very practical. And I think that, because of that way of, of living, that approach, I think it attributes to a lot of my success that I have today, right? I don't worry about, I don't worry about money. I'm not wealthy, but I just don't worry about money. Life is good. My kids are fine. They're healthy. They don't have to worry about anything, right? My wife is, she does well. She stays home with the kids for the most part, runs a photography business. So I think all the great things, all these blessings that I have today has a lot to do, with almost I hate to use the word karma, but yeah, karma, I fully believe in that, So.
I ask because, we get it, at Alpha, we get a lot of investors, a lot of people trying to start their businesses and, be successful at them. And whether it's outside forces, TV, society, anything, people with books they read or anything, I think they feel like they need a bit of ruthlessness to be successful, to make a lot of money.
I used to think that way too.
Yeah. And I feel like that's something, and I think hearing what you're saying is it's something to take into your own business. You don't need to be ruthless to be successful. They're not necessarily tied together. You can get a lot of negative effects from being ruthless that can really hurt you down the road. And 100%. I think it's important to listen to what you're saying and say, hey, that giving mentality, it will come back someday.
Yeah. I know a lot of ruthless people in business, and they're very successful as well. And I know a lot of people that are not. They're the total opposite, like John Steingraber, right? Very giving individual. Nowhere close to being that type of person, and he's extremely successful, right? And there's a lot of people in my circle that I know of, that I know for a fact they're not cutthroat, ruthless type of people. So in business, you do have those 2 types of approach. The one person or the one entrepreneur that thinks that they have to be cutthroat and ruthless and go at it and beat everybody else. And then you have the person that just knows that if they put their head down, they focus, they do the right thing, they don't sacrifice their integrity and their ethics, right? And as long as they go to work and they build cadence, they build the frequency and consistency, that they're going to be successful, right? You have that approach as well. I choose to have that approach. it wasn't always that way in the very beginning. I used to think that you had to be ruthless until, someone showed me, a better way,
I want to know, what was the catalyst for that? You said somebody showed me. Tell me a little bit about that frame shift.
When I was in a mortgage business, I saw a lot of ruthless people after 2008 go to jail, right? Because they were ruthless. And I think that me watching that, when I got into the mortgage business, this was 2004, and I did very well for myself as a loan officer, right? First year I did 6 figures, then second year I was doing 200,000. Third year got to 300, and I never was ruthless. I had people around me that supported my business, that gave me, gave me clients or referred me a lot of clients. I didn't have to be ruthless because of that, and I'm blessed that the fact that I had that, that support from people around me. But I saw a lot of people who achieved way more success than me, and they were very ruthless to the point where they allowed their integrity to be sacrificed. And I watched what happened right after. Right? And there's a lot of people that are very ruthless and do the wrong things, and nothing happens to them. There's no repercussions. And there's a lot of people that do it, and all of a sudden you see repercussions. And I said to myself, deep down in my heart, I'm like, I know that this doesn't feel right, being this way. Right? I'll give you an example. 2007 happened. That was the year subprime mortgage crisis. I call it the mortgage-backed security crisis, really. That's, because a lot of people think, oh my God, it's a subprime mortgage crisis, as if every loan was, that was originated was a subprime loan, and it wasn't. Vast majority of loans back in 2007, by the way, for those who don't know, were prime loans. They weren't actually subprime. And the default rate was actually basically the same, like 20%, 21% between subprime and prime. So that's why I call it the mortgage-backed securities crisis, really. That's what it was, right? Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about how the banks, right, kind of in the secondary market defrauded investors by putting bad loans into like performing loans. But anyway, back to what I was saying, I watched a lot of people back in 2007, 2008. I could have been one of those people that sold a home to a straw buyer, and I chose not to do that. But in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to lose so much money. And I did lose a lot of money. I went broke. I got punched in the face several times, figuratively, in terms of my finances, because I made wrong decisions. The economy, which I couldn't control, right? And that's why we focus on what we can control, control the controllables. The economy went the other way, and I justified, my failure because of that, when in reality it was just a couple of bad decisions that I made financially that I should have been smarter, right? And I didn't know. But I could have, frauded someone and put their name on an application and sold their house to them because it was that easy, and they would have never known, and they would have caught it like a year later. I could have done that, but I knew deep down inside that wasn't the right thing to do. Why put that individual or whoever it is in that position and put my family, which, or myself in that position as well, where the repercussions is you get in trouble, you go to jail, you go to prison, whatever. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't, even though a lot of people were doing it, people that I knew, I was like, I can't do that, right? And I knew from that day, I was like, I'd rather learn valuable financial lessons and have a clear conscience at night, knowing that I didn't hurt anybody or hurt myself, and just have to rebuild again, because the rebuilding process, right, is much more satisfying than knowing that, oh, I have all this money, but the reality of it, I have it because I did this, and that. I defrauded a bunch of people, and now I have all this money. I never wanted that to be my success story. I wanted my success story to be what it is today, right? I did the right things. I took my licks, I took my punches, but I built from the ground up, and that's what it is.
And I think it's so powerful to hear that, because I think at the end of the day, we talk about this a lot in our business, because our business is very crowded, in the lending space. And, Matt and I always look at each other and we talk about all these people, but I look at it and I go, there's enough for everybody. There's enough for everybody who runs a real business, who's honest, who's going through it. There's enough for everybody to have a good life. And I think what you're saying is that ruthless part, that negative part, like, sure, you might make a lot of money, right? But are you happy? And I think that's the part where in the very beginning you were talking about, like, you go to sleep at night, your family is good, you're setting an example for your kids and all that. Whereas when you go the other direction, you might have all the money, but who's around you still? Like, who haven't you screwed over? Who doesn't know what you've done or the bad things and all those other pieces. So like there's a balance to it, right? To say, hey, listen, if I just do the right thing, and like you said, you live a very practical life. Like if I live a good life, I think that's also the next part, right? It's like there's the difference between doing something because you love it, right? We talk about this a lot on our podcast with different people about being passionate, being driven, being, Matt always talks about loving what he does. There's a difference when you go into business and you're doing those things and the money comes because it's supposed to, right? You're putting a lot of effort, putting a lot of energy into it, and the good stuff comes out to it. Whereas, look, we could do it all the time, right? Our business is notorious for ruthless, terrible,
predatory lending
things that happen. Yeah. And we do our business different. Like, Mike, this because you've met a lot of people who I've done loans with and stuff. Like how many people I talk deals out of. I'm like, just don't do it. And every time I do that, I lose money every single time, but I feel good at night. Yeah. And I think that's what you're saying. And we still run a successful...
Feel good as soon as you get off that phone call. Yeah. That's how you know it. Like as soon as you get off that phone call, you feel this sense of gratification that you walk somebody through what potentially could have been catastrophic for them.
And we still run a great business. Yeah. And so you can have both things. I'm really enjoying this because I feel like no one's said that to us before so far on the podcast.
Yeah. But it's because there's two different categories. There's the Mikes of the world, Mike, me, myself, where if we were to be ruthless, if we were to do things not the right way, you wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I know for me, I would have anxiety. I wouldn't be able to sleep. But there are some people out there that do things ruthlessly and they just don't care and they don't have a care in the world. So it's really the category of if you were to do it, you would feel terrible because you actually are a good person and you're good natured. And obviously, if you are,
but the success and the money comes.
Yeah.
It comes anyway.
And that's in any industry, right?
Doing things the right way. Doing the right thing.
Territory.
It's going to come, I think people are like, if I'm too good, if I'm too caring, or people are going to walk over me like, I'm never going to make any. I'm like,
no such thing.
No, the good makes more good, right? Yeah. Like I think that's really true. So Mike, you said you were in the mortgage business in the beginning before this. So how long did you do that for? And did that kind of end with 2006, 7, 8?
No,
or
I went back. Yeah. I became a loan officer 2004. I was at a small little brokerage in Harrison, and then they relocated to Clark. 2007 happened. We ended up not merging. We ended up going into another bank called IndyMac. 2 weeks later, they served their pink slips. Right. Basically, what happened was they were a bank in California, and they didn't have enough reserves to cover the deposits or cover the withdrawals. So that bank went under. We went to Countrywide. 3 weeks later, Countrywide gets bought out by Bank of America. So I'm at Bank of America, and no offense to Bank of America, they were figuring things out at the time. They bought this big company, right? Countrywide. They were forced to, purchase Eric Murillo's nightmare, which was Countrywide, which Countrywide at the time was probably the biggest lender in the entire country. If not the top, if they weren't the top three, they were the biggest. So I'm at Bank of America. I'm just miserable there. Then I go to residential home funding. I go to another company. I go to this. I go to that. I mean, companies are closing down, opening up, closing down. So I just got sick of it. And then my last stop was at a company called Quantic out in New York. And I said, to heck with this. I'm just going to focus on flipping. And that's what I ended up doing. I started flipping, properties. I started with 2 family properties in Union County. And I was buying them at like $100,000. And, and my first one was actually a fascinating story because it was for $75,000. Like now it's like a drop in a bucket. But back then it was a lot of money for me and I had to buy it all cash. And I remember the agent, still a friend of mine, Goran Kawarskowski, who was an REO agent, right? So he had this property, needed complete rehab in Linden, New Jersey, 628 Huston Street. Still remember it to this day. I buy it for $75,000. He calls me like a week before closing. He's like, "We're all good for closing." I'm like, yeah. And he's, at the time he wasn't a good friend of mine. We were just establishing rapport. I didn't have all the money. I was shy like $25,000. Now that whole entire week, I'm scrambling for money. I'm like, who can I call? My credit's shot. I don't have good credit. Like my credit's like in the 500s. I don't have credit cards because I couldn't make payments because of, I couldn't make payments. Just reduction of income. So I'm like calling everybody I know and no, I can't. Sorry. Then one of my friends, who's also a loan officer, he goes, "Mike, why don't you, his name is Nelson. Shout out to Nelson Martin. He probably doesn't even know that he helped me tremendously just by pointing me in the right direction. He goes, I have this couple, Peter and Florice, they lend money out. Why don't you give them a call? And I'm like, I have no other choice. So I'm like, all right, let me call them up. So here I am. I call up Peter and Florice, and they don't know me from Adam. And I'm like, yeah, I was given your number by my friend Nelson. And the correlation or the relationship was that Nelson worked at the same mortgage company as Peter. All right. But the bulk of their business is lending money out. So I'm pitching my property. I'm like, I have this property and this, that, and the other. And I'm hoping like they don't ask me for my credit and this, that, and the other. And I know they're going to do it. Right. And then I let them know that I know this guy named Jay De Oliveira. And they're like, oh, you know Jay, who happens to work with Nelson as well, and Peter. I'm like, yeah, I'm actually, at the time, I was no longer engaged to Jay's daughter, but I had we broke up, but I had a great relationship with Jay and his wife, Stella, who were still fantastic friends of mine today, just like fans of my life and my family. And it's like, I don't know, it's like God's watching over me. And they're like, oh, any friends of Jay are friends of ours. They didn't even ask me any question. How much money do you need? I said I needed X amount of dollars. And they just gave me a check. Just like that. No credit background, no nothing. But they knew, like, obviously I was asking for it because I didn't have the, my credit situation was bad. So I buy this property, $75,000. I fix it up. I hire my father, right? Run out of money again. So now I got to borrow money from my uncle, gives me $25,000, finish up the property. I put it on the market and my friend Hugo Lorenko ends up buying the property. That's my first flip. I make probably about $55,000 or $60,000. And I'm happier than pig in a blanket because this could have gone really bad. And then from that property, it snowballed into, right now, probably about 90 properties that I've done over the course of the last couple of years. But it started off with that property. And before that, I was flipping properties just like everybody else was in 04, 05, 06. We were buying a house in March and we were selling it in April for $30,000 more. That was how we were flipping. We were literally flipping like title or flipping equity at that time. People forget the market in 2005 was crazy just like it is now. You were buying a property and, 1 week and you're selling it for, a 10% premium. It was insane. And those properties were on the MLS, which was insanity to me. But then this was my first actual flip, like fix and flip, where it was a gut job, so I was happy about that. And it led me to other opportunities, which has led me to over here today, to be honest with you.
So 90 flips later, let's say something like that.
Yeah.
What brought you from there to Signature?
While I was flipping properties, I said, why don't I just, I already had my real estate license. Why don't I put some of these properties on the market and add another stream of income? So that's what I did. I ended up going to Weichert, and a couple other companies, Exit, et cetera, et cetera. And I had met John, who's the CEO of Signature Realty, back in 2005 or 6. I was his first loan officer. I remember sitting with John at a Starbucks in Clark, which no longer exists there, but I was sitting down with John. He had flip-flops and shorts. And
I can't picture that. By the way. I can't do it in my head.
That was John. John, that's how he dressed. Flip-flop and shorts, him and Randy. But I met John. I remember I was with my manager at the time, and I remember sitting across from John, and a young guy, just got his real estate license, but you could tell he was very confident. He was very self-aware, confident of his abilities. And I knew, like I told my manager at the time, Carlos, I said, this guy's going to be successful. I just know it. And I ended up doing some things with John. Like I did his first 2 loans on multifamily properties that he bought. And then John ended up going to California for a while. And in the back of my mind, his name would just resurface on Facebook or through a conversation, with a couple of people. And I remember driving around. I was at Weichert. I needed to leave Weichert. I wanted to go somewhere else. I wanted to be around investor-friendly people. So I was like, where can I go to be part of that kind of community, right? Because I flip, right? And at Weichert kind of, my manager wasn't happy that I did that. He's like, you can't do both. You got to do one or the other. And I'm like, I got to do both. I want to wear both hats, So I'm driving around Springfield, driving around Union, and I see Michelle Pie signs everywhere, right? This is like 2016 or 17. So I sent out an email to Signature Realty admin's email, and I get a response back, and it's John. And I was thinking about John for a while. I'm like, I'm in. I literally just sent him a message like, I'm in. I meet up with you. It was either a Tuesday or Wednesday, and I remember going into Signature Realty's office in Springfield. Met Michelle, obviously met with John, and, you know, I signed paperwork within like 5 minutes. But at the time I was just a real estate agent. And, you know, I think Signature at the time maybe had 45 agents. I remember meeting Joe Kessler as well there.
Shout out producer Joe.
Yeah, shout out to Joe. And, you know, then I became the first member of Michelle's team, me and Chad. And that took off. You know, Michelle didn't have a team at the time. This is 2017. This is, you know, MPG right now, Michelle Pye's group is now like this big productive team. Right? They're one of the top teams in New Jersey. And Michelle's one of the top agents in New Jersey. And I remember, you know, doing very well there for a couple of years. I was there, you know, Michelle's top agent, me and Chad. And then I got to a point in my life where I had my second daughter, Addison, and I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. You know, if you're a successful agent, you're working Saturdays. There's like no days off. I don't think people out there appreciate agents too much because they don't know what happens behind the scenes. Like a top agent that's doing 25, 30 units, they're working every day. You know, there's no Saturday off. There's moments off. You know, like one of my agents, Eliani, says, there's moments off in a business, right? Which is true, but you're working all the time. You're working at, you know, 9 o'clock at night. Client calls you. Some of these clients, they'll call you at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. You're showing houses Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. You're showing houses on a Sunday, or you're doing an open house. So you're never off, but you have these moments off. And I'm like, this is not what I want to do. Like, I can't sustain this type of lifestyle where I want to see my kids and spend more time with my kids and be an agent. There's no way, you know, and at that time, Signature had maybe about 65, 70 agents. You know, and I had sat down with John and Michelle, and I told them about the next chapter in my life and to see if there was a fit. And I never wanted to ask John or Michelle to make this special role for me because, you know, I know business, and I know that, you know, with 60 or 70 agents, that role may not be justified. So I never wanted to put any pressure. And the reality of it is actually I was leaving the company, not because there was an issue, just because there was the next chapter in my life. And I'm like, all right, what am I good at? What's my passion now? And my passion was to, you know, manage people, help people, or help other agents get to the level that I was at. You know, so an opportunity came up with another broker, a big brokerage, and I was going to take it. In fact, verbally, I actually accepted it. I sat down with John and Michelle, and I told them, you know, what was going on. And within like 2 minutes, John made me a very, very good offer. And he explained to me what the goal was. Like, we want to grow Signature. Even though a year prior to that, you know, I asked him, like, you guys ever want to grow? And no, we're fine where we're at. And most brokerages are like that. Like, most brokerages want to stay small. And I'll tell you why. There's more profits in a small brokerage than a big brokerage.
And why is that?
Yeah.
Less expenses by far, less payroll, less rent, right?
Just overhead.
And if you're in a traditional broker split, like if you're in a 70-30 or 75-25, and you have 50 or 60 agents and you have very little overhead, you're making, as a broker owner, you're making a lot more money than our commission split, right? Our commission model.
Can you quickly touch on that? So a lot of people, Mike always says the wide, vast people that listen to us, whether you're thinking about getting into real estate, you're just, you know, you're in your W-2 job, you're maybe a brand new investor, or maybe you're curious about the world of real estate. When you say the commission splits, if you could explain how that works.
So there's traditional models and there's non-traditional models, right? Signature Realty used to be a traditional commission model. You came over, it was like a 50-50 or 60-40 split. 60 to the agent, 40 to the broker, right? You got to a certain unit level, like let's say you did 10 transactions, you would get a bump up on your commission. All right, now you're gonna go to 70-30 or 80-20. That's how most traditional brokerages operate, right? The non-traditional commission model is what we have now, where there's a couple companies out there that have it, right? Where it's like, there's a cap. All right, we take $10,000, and then after that, you go on 100%, which puts more money in the agent's pocket. Because here's the reality, and no offense to traditional broker models, I love it as well, but the reality of it, who are you as the broker manager or broker owner to decide, you know, what the agent's going to use in terms of resources and tools? Most agents do not use the resources and tools that most brokerages put in front of them. Like, for example, CRM, right? A lot of agents are using different types of CRM. So when I was at Weichert, I was using their CRM. But in reality, it wasn't the CRM that I wanted. So then I ended up, going to Top Producer, which is a different CRM. I don't even know if they still exist. And I stopped using a Whitecard CRM because I needed something a little bit more robust. But a lot of traditional brokerages will justify taking more money from your paycheck, from your commission, because they're giving all these resources. But if you were to do, a study out there, or research, and ask a bunch of agents, hey, are you using all of the resources that a brokerage is, giving you? The reality of it is that most of them are not. And some for good reasons, some for bad reasons. Some because they don't want to use anything because they're not engaged. And for others, it's simply because they feel there's better systems based on the juncture in their real estate career, right? So what our commission model allows for agents to do is make that decision. You allocate the money where you want to allocate, right? So therefore you have more money in your pocket, but it's not for you to go out there to a Ferrari dealership and buy a car. That's not what it's meant. It's meant for you to make the right investment based on where you're at in your real estate career, right? So that's why the non-traditional commission model works. And it's one of the reasons, outside of our community, outside of everything else that we offer at Signature, it's why Signature blew up. In 17 months, we went, no lie, from 87 agents to 400 plus. I don't think there's an independent brokerage out there that achieved that level of growth in such a short period of time.
And now you guys are going to be opening up an office right down the street from us. A stone's throw away.
Yeah. Literally.
Here in Red Bank, New Jersey.
Yeah. Yeah. On the corner of Maple Avenue in Bergen. We're excited to be in Monmouth County, and we're excited to be in Red Bank because I think that our brand complements the area very well, right? We're a strong residential, single family type brokerage. And that's the area here, Monmouth County, Ocean County. I think this is going to be where we thrive the most. We do have offices in Essex County, in Bergen County, Union County. We have an office in Jersey City, Hudson County. We have an office in Somerset County as well, in Franklin Township. But I have a feeling that this is going to be our most successful office because I think it fits the brand the most, right? And Monmouth County it's growing in population. It's on fire. There's a lot of great developments coming down. The one right after Driscoll Bridge, which I'm excited for that development. For those who don't know, they're doing huge retail and apartment complex right after the Driscoll Bridge to the right side. I think Bass Pro Shops is involved. I think that's their land. They bought it many years ago and it was sinking, and they ended up hiring a German engineering company who came in and fixed the problem. And you're going to be able to pull up with your boat, water ski, your wave runner, and you could spend the entire day there, restaurants, walk around. It's just going to be a popular area, and that is going to bring a lot of attention to that area. And it's going to ultimately convince a lot of people to come into this area because that's a cool thing. Like boating in New Jersey is a big thing. I didn't realize that until 2020 when I started hanging out in Barnegat and I bought my jet ski, and I realized, wow, if you ever go to Golden Nugget, there's probably about $1 billion worth of boats there. Yeah. If you ever go to, what is that, Red and Parrot in Brielle? I forget, Pig and Parrot. Yeah, there's $20 million Viking boats, and there's not one of them. There's like several, 5 million, 10 million. So the boating industry in New Jersey is very, very big. Mm-hmm. Not as big as Florida, obviously because of the weather, but just as big as anywhere else that you could imagine, probably in the top 5. So that's going to be a huge development, very successful. Then you have Netflix coming into Port Monmouth, right?
Yeah, right down the
street.
You
have that. It's one of the reasons why I just purchased the property in Union Beach because it's close enough, and I think that area is going to, be inundated with a lot of demand. So Monmouth County, Monmouth County's on fire, and plus the proximity to the beach, right?
I can speak to that. I grew up here. I grew up in Monmouth County. I grew up at the beach. There's nothing. I know everybody talks about. I'm gonna pause what we're doing here because this is an important distinction. Everybody, when they say going to the shore, they mean like Wildwood. That is not what the shore is. That's the beach. Oh yeah, I hear you, Joe. Oh yeah, that's the beach.
I hate Wildwood because it's such a far walk to the water. It's like, I don't want to get there.
This is the shore.
Yeah.
Everything from like Sandy Hook all the way to like through Manasquan, kind of right up there, right when you get to the edge of like Ocean County.
Yeah.
That's the shore. This is where I grew up. These are the best beaches you'll ever see. It's quiet. It's nice. It's like real beach.
Jersey Shore is underrated. It really is. I didn't realize that until the last 4 years, spending all that time down the shore with my kids. It's very, very underrated.
And this is also
Pisces, yeah. We're there almost every weekend.
Also, this is Central Jersey.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm going to say that right now. I don't care what anybody says.
It's Central Jersey.
This is not South Jersey.
But the shore, Jersey Shore, it is its own animal. When you look at the state, you have North, Central, South, and then there's the Jersey Shore.
Yes, I agree.
And I think a lot of people, they misrepresent New Jersey. It has so much to offer. It's incredible. I was just in Hunterdon County this past weekend. The farmland, how vast and how open it is.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about Monmouth County, and I'm so excited that Signature is coming right next to the Alpha office. I can literally walk there right now. I'm really excited that you guys are going to be here. Oh, who's running the Signature office here? Let's
that's going to be our agent,
out.
Jacob. Yeah,
Jacob's a good guy.
Yeah, Jacob's,
we've met
yeah, he's going to do well. Yeah.
Shout out to Jacob. Come visit him at the Signature office here in Red Bank. Something to say about, since we're talking about it for a second, and I love it here because this is my, I grew up here. You were just saying it. We have the beaches, we have farmland, we have mountains,
parks.
We have everything in one place.
Restaurants.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and we have the cities up north.
Yeah,
so it's amazing.
I'm excited that Signature decided Red Bank is a place they want to be.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I've been pushing for an office in this area for a very long time, and we just feel that Red Bank is the best fit for us because of the downtown area, all the movement going on. It's got a great nightlife, right? Great restaurants, great retail, and it's an entry point into Ocean County as well, right? I know it's Monmouth County, but we're not far from Ocean County, and Ocean County, in the last 3-4 years, especially after the pandemic, has completely gotten nuts in terms of prices and demand. It's just insanity what houses are going for on the water, whether it's lagoon, bayside, or on the ocean. It's just, wow.
Yeah, they've done a tremendous job post-Hurricane Sandy, building it back up. And a lot of people, they want homes at the shore. And it's a very, very sought after.
It's memories.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see what my kids and I are going through, and I think people, you can't put a price on memories. And that's why a lot of people are buying houses down the shore, because the memories that you're creating with your family over the weekend or whenever you go out there is just something that you just can't put a price on.
Yeah.
There's no price tag for it, for sure.
Speaking of money, what if I told you that you could invest in real estate with none of your own money? There's no catch there. Just a simple, proven system of combining two reputable companies and tools that include hard money and unsecured business lines of credit to cover all of your costs for purchase, rehab, down payment, closing costs, 2 interest payments, and working capital for your construction before draw reimbursements. That's a lot.
That is a lot. It's a mouthful.
To find out more, check out MB Alpha at www.dealswithnomoney.com to watch the training video and then help find out how it works. Don't ever let money be a barrier for you to invest in real estate. Get started today with MB Alpha. Back to the show.
Shout out to MB Alpha.
MB Alpha, our new program.
Oh my God, I'm leaving that in also.
Mike, I want to know, and Mike, we were talking about this the other day. What is it about real estate that just gets you so amped up? I mean, I know you're passionate. I know you're about purpose.
Well, you could do
things.
anything, right? Like someone with your mindset, you could do anything. You want to build widgets, like you could be like, I'm gonna go buy a factory. I'm gonna build widgets. I'm gonna do great. Why this?
At a very, very young age, my father's Portuguese, and one of the things that my father did very well was instill in me that for one of the easiest ways to build generational wealth is getting into real estate. The other reason why real estate is simply because there's so many facets of real estate that if you carved a niche in any of those facets, anywhere in the spectrum, that you could be completely successful in it, right? There's the long-term game. I'm not a buy and hold guy. Like I don't own apartment buildings and a bunch of I don't. My niche is fix and flip, right? And lately it's been wholesaling, which I go to Nick Tang's events and talk about it. I don't have the patience to be a landlord. And when I'm ready to retire, I know that I can put my money into a nice Class A area, Class A building, and I'll park it there. But you could be successful at fix and flipping. You could be successful in commercial real estate. You could be successful in, being a real estate agent. And the other beauty of real estate is that they're all intertwined. You can do everything or almost everything in the real estate spectrum. Like I was a successful real estate agent. I'm not in production anymore, but I was doing agent production and I was flipping properties, right? At the same time, it was intertwined. So as I was successful in one area, because of those opportunities that I was creating, it led to other opportunities in another area of real estate. And I don't think there's another industry that you can get those opportunities, the best of both worlds. And with real estate, you can. Like, for example, there may be, if you're a real estate agent, for example, you go to an appointment, or a real estate investor that also has their real estate license. If you go to an appointment where seller wants to sell their home to an investor, right? But the numbers don't work, you may then pitch it, hey, by the way, look, although this doesn't work for me, why don't we put your house on the market and get you more money? So now all of a sudden you went from not making money as an investor, but now you're making money as an agent, right? I mean, if we calculate commissions, obviously you can make very good money. So that's the fascinating part about real estate. The other fascinating part about real estate is what's more important as an investor is it's not the money, it's the deal. You can go and get deals. You can go get money anywhere. You can find money within an hour, 2 hours, whatever the case may be. Finding deals are difficult, but once you find one, the money part, which people are so focused on, or become such an obstacle for so many people because they don't know, they're not educated enough to know what their options are, right? That's the easy part for me. Well, wait, I got a great deal, right? The money isn't a deal. I can go raise capital right now. I can go to, call Alpha Funding and I can get a loan with Alpha because I know this is a good asset, right? So that's the beauty of it. I've seen people go from broke to, I'm not going to say wealthy, but go from being worth $0 to being worth $2 million in a matter of 2 years. And I don't think there's any other industry that can offer that sort of opportunity financially. Like, you can't do that trading stocks. It's different because you got to leverage capital in order for you to make money. And the only way you could do that in stocks is if you're very active on a daily basis doing what's called options trading, and you got to get lucky. At some point, you got to get lucky, right? You can't, if you do a trade, you don't know if you're going to make money. You don't know how much you're going to make. It's different in real estate. Like, I buy a property, I know how much money I'm going to make already. Just by the acquisition, I know how much this property is going to be worth. I have in a ballpark figure how much money I'm going to make. That's the beauty about real estate. The beauty is it's in the purchase, right? The asset is what matters. And you can change, you can transition. Well, today I'm a fix and flip guy. Tomorrow I can be, I'm going to start parking my money in good Class A assets, right? Class A meaning good areas, Class A meaning good buildings. I'll park my money there, right? For a rate of return of whatever it is, 6, 7, 8%. So that versatility that's offered with real estate is what drew me to it. I'm like, wait a minute, I can make money here. I can make money there. I can make money over here. So that's an industry that's fascinating. It's a concept that's very fascinating to me, which I don't know of any other industry that offers that as well.
So I love that. And so my next question is going to play off of that. So for me, when people say, why do I do lending? Why do I love this? For me, it's the thrill of the deal. I love making a deal, and the harder the deal, the better. I love figuring it out, coming to, often here in the office, like they'll come, I'll be screaming and they'll be like, what's wrong? It's like, I did it. I figured it out. It's done. I got the deal. And they're like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, that's what gets me going every day. You love real estate for all the reasons you said. What just fires you up? What's that moment where you're like, if you could, you would run around and high five us all and just take a victory lap and be like,
disposition. It's funny. You ask me, disposition. I don't get excited when I buy a property. I just purchased 4 properties in the last week. I don't get excited when I buy them. I get excited when I sell them. Going through the disposition process, right? Allocating or procuring a buyer, right? Understanding the numbers and how quick I dispose of some of these properties, like within 24 hours or within a week or 2 weeks, and also being able to give somebody else an opportunity to also make money. That also excites me, right? Because a lot of my deals today, I'm not buying them with the intent to fix anymore. I'm buying it because I'm buying it at a great price, and I'm leaving enough bones or enough meat in the bones for somebody else to take on the project. I'm too busy running Signature with John, so time is not on my side. So I can't sit there and project manage anything. So I decided to think of it differently. If I can make 30, 40, 50,000 or $100,000 and I spend 5 hours on a deal, I'll do that all day long versus wanting to make $150,000 and sit on a deal for a year to do an at a level because I want to stroke my ego, right? Because that's exactly what I used to do. And that's why I ended up losing a lot of money doing that because markets could change. And a lot of these new construction and at a levels, they take a while. Like I'm doing my own home right now in Cranford, 4 months for permits to get approved. I've been blessed enough where I have no mortgage on the property. But imagine this was a flip and I had a mortgage and I got $4,000 of carrying costs every month. Like for some people that can bury them after a year. And now it becomes a trigger point. Like I don't want to do this anymore. Like I lost a lot of money, right? And that's why a lot of people get out of real estate. It's like I lost a lot of money in one deal, and I've lost money on several deals, but I realized where I made those mistakes. So I transitioned my thought process and my approach. I have a different type of strategy. That's why I do a lot of talking in speaking events about wholesaling, which is a unique strategy where you are purchasing the property, but you are barely spending any money. You're cleaning it up and putting it back on the market. You make sure that you're only buying properties that are, mortgageable, and you're allowing a bigger buyer pool to, or you're giving that property an exposure to a bigger buyer pool because in this market where it's a seller's market, great for an investor, but also good for a retail client who doesn't mind maybe, doing the kitchen cabinets and the bathrooms, et cetera, right? There's plenty of retail clients that are willing to do that, regular, average consumer. So my strategy now has changed drastically where 2008, 9, 10, I want to do at levels. I want to do new construction, and you get burned a couple of times. You're like, oh, maybe this is not my niche. I don't want to do that anymore.
I like the wholetailing piece because what you're really doing is you're showing the potential to somebody else, right? Because when you're getting it, it's really bad. And you go in there, you get the cleanup done, and now you're some of the greater pool who they might have looked at that. I remember looking at that property, but it looks different. Like you're showing them more of the potential of what it could be if they put the effort in.
Yeah. The other thing that gets me going is when I know that there's been other offers on the table and my offer is the lower one or the lowest one, and I get the deal because of the way I structured the deal, right? And you said it before, that's the art of the deal, right?
Yeah.
I'll give an example. I ended up buying a property in Old Bridge. It just closed last week. Finally, 39 Shadow Lawn. House burnt down, right? So it's still, there's sticks. It's on sticks, meaning like 2x4 framing, but the back of the house is completely burnt down. And I know of 3 offers for sure that were $55,000. One $55,000. No, rather, sorry, $50,000 higher than mine. The other one's $35,000. The other one's $40,000. How do I know this? Because 2 of those 3 offers were agents for my office. Right? And I had to disclose that, hey, I'm helping them out on the deal. I'm helping them structure. I swear to God, I'm helping them structure the deal. And I'm like, full disclosure, I also have an offer on it. Like my offer is this, right? And they're like, oh, I'm going to get this deal. I'm like, yeah, probably, right? Maybe. But the person that was flipping this property, selling this property, they're wholesalers. And you guys know wholesalers only care about one thing. Who's going to close on this deal? Right. That's it. They're in a timeline, right? They don't care about making 40 or 60. They care about making the money. Right. And what stood about my offer was the fact that I structured it in a way that I convinced them that there is absolutely zero chance that I'm not going to close on a deal. So my offer is $295, all cash. I left a $50,000 deposit. What I ended up doing was I made the offer within an hour of being introduced to the property. I copied my attorney on it. I sent a list of all the properties I purchased in the last 2 years, right? Because most people don't care about what you bought 7 years ago. They care, all right, what have you done lately? So I put a bunch of properties the last 2 years, copied my attorney, copied my title person. I said, these are the people I work with. They can vouch for me. And I said, I can close within 10 days. And, and I'm like, I can use your title company because, that's a big thing with wholesalers, because, they're buying it from this person. They don't want to double close. Right. So I was able to convince them that I was the best fit for them versus the other offer, which was $335, and the other one, which was $340 and $345, which those had loans attached to it, this, that, and the other. So that gets me excited knowing that I got this deal. And now I'm sitting on $40,000, $50,000 of instant equity. Like I could literally sell it to the other person immediately if I wanted to, right? And I'm also excited because they still get the opportunity to buy this property and make money for themselves too, right? And also by wholesaling, I'm also very versatile. Like I can let it sit in the market for 2 weeks, and if nobody bites at the price that I want, I could do the deal too because it still makes sense, right? It's a question of whether or not I want to. Right.
I think the versatility of real estate, you were talking about what gets you so excited about real estate, and you were just saying just the world, how many different things you can do inside of real estate. And I think that's awesome.
Joint venture, just like so many things. Like I almost had a joint venture on that property where it's like, hey, okay, look, somebody was like, I'll do the deal with you. I'll put up all the money. Let's joint venture it. Like that's also exciting too, right? Where I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'll think about it. Where, all right, well, no money for me, no skin in the game, and you're gonna split it, great. But sometimes it's not about that for me, right? Sometimes it's just the better fit is being able to generate some little, a little bit of capital so I can put it into the next one, or justify. All right, I have a big tax bill coming up. If I make $35,000, that takes care of my tax bill. Well, let's do this, right? Instead of being there for just 8 months, 9 months on a joint venture, don't want to do it.
I want to transition because you kind of talked on this just before, and success leaves a lot of clues, and success is also very boring. What are the things that everyone should do to be rich and successful? So if you could talk to maybe somebody who's getting into real estate, maybe somebody that you work with at your brokerage, what are some things that the real pros do that the amateurs are not willing to do? And
Not
really
willing
what
or don't
separates
know.
them? Or don't know. Or don't do.
It's not even just the not being willing, just some things they don't even know.
Yeah, what are those?
In the investment world?
Well, in anything. I think it's more, this is more of a, from a professional standpoint.
It's an entrepreneurial question.
Being a real
right?
pro versus being an amateur. What's going to separate you if you're a successful person versus somebody who doesn't want to go that extra mile? Separating success versus...
Well, especially in the beginning, if there's any entrepreneurs there, it's going to come down to work ethic, really. It's going to come down to you understanding all the processes, the systems that are required for you to get to a certain level, and understanding strategy. What does that look like for you? Where a lot of people getting into entrepreneurship, they think that just because they're in it, that they're going to be successful. Just because they're doing, right? There's doing without a plan and there's doing with a plan. And a lot of people do real estate without a plan, even as real estate agents, and especially as real estate investors. I always ask people like, I can't get a deal. All right, great. How many hours are you spending every week finding deals or looking for deals? Oh, no, I'm not. But how are you going to find a deal, right?
Then how many offers you make?
Right. So, you have to have a plan, right? Because you either plan to succeed or you plan to fail. Either way, doesn't matter. The people that don't have a plan actually have a plan. Their plan is to fail. So that's what it comes down to, in my opinion, is really understanding what's your 1-year goal, what's your 5-year goal, what is your 10-year goal, right? Because every day when you get up in the morning, that priority for that day or those 2 or 3 priorities that you need to accomplish, they need to be aligned with your 1 year, your 5 year, and your 10 year. Like if you ask me what's my 1 year versus my 5 year and my 10 year, it's the different answer. For everybody, it's a different answer, right? So what are you doing on a daily basis? Do you have a plan, right? What's your goal? Are you reverse engineering those, your goals? And what are you doing on a daily basis? Is that aligned with your goals, right? If somebody says, Mike, I want to make $500,000 a year. Great. Doing what? Real estate, investing, just like you. Awesome. All right. So what are you doing today? Just checking the MLS or just driving around. All right. Well, that's not aligned with your $500,000 goal. Right. Now, if you're spending 4, 5, 6, 7 hours every day and you're prospecting, if you're creating opportunities, if you're visiting properties, making offers, yeah, that's a $500,000 goal alignment. Right. So it comes down to that. It really comes down to planning. My point in which I failed in real estate, which I failed several times, was lack of planning. Or, not having a plan at all. And I wish I can get those years back, but unfortunately I can't. And, the price that you pay is you watch other people that started before you or started after you, and they're like a lot more successful. Not that I gauge my success around what other people do or how much success they have, because I don't measure the gap. That's not what I do. I measure the gain, and the gain is what's my progress. Where am I today versus last year versus 5 years ago? I measure the gain. I don't measure the gap. And those are words that I live by today. Because if you measure the gap, you're going to be depressed all the time. Like, oh my God, I have so much work to do. We all do.
Well, they say the three words that are toxic, if you want to feel terrible: complaining, comparing, and then critiquing.
Yeah.
And if you stay away from those three, and you just said it, comparing, even against yourself.
That's why social media is like deadly for a lot of people, right? It's like, oh my God, this person's so successful.
And you got to stay away from it. But also, I love where you talked about planning, and I love the word progress. I'm a big person on that. Every day, I always look. At the end of the day, can I say I did something where I progressed? I moved the ball forward.
Yeah.
Or if something didn't work out, can I learn from that? And am I progressing? And I love that.
Yeah.
I have a question. So about...
You can't ask.
All right, I won't ask it then. Fine.
Mike.
Cut this. No, I'm just kidding. So seriously though, my question is, you talk a lot about work ethic and planning.
Yeah.
Do you find, and obviously that's at the top of your mind because you're seeing it not happen. You're seeing people not planning and you see the work ethic failing.
Yeah.
Do you see that as a generational issue or do you see that as something that everybody's doing wrong? Do you see it? So
I don't think it's a generational issue.
Okay.
I used to think that, right? And I'm going to go back to the work ethic thing, right? Because people have to understand it's not just about work ethic. Because I'll give you an example, right? Construction worker goes to work every day, 7 o'clock in the morning, comes home at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. They work hard. They got work ethic. Can't question that. But where are they getting at in life? They're going to live a decent life, right? But they're not going to live a life of fulfillment at the end of the year or at the end of 10, 20, 30 years. They're going to work for 30 years. They're going to retire. They may go out fishing, and that's their life, right? So I don't see that to be successful.
What's fulfillment to you?
Quality of life, freedom, being able to do all the things you want to do now versus I'm going to do this in 30 years when I retire. Like a lot of people live life when they retire. To me, that's not living life because you don't know if you're ever going to get there. Like you don't know if you're going to be alive to see that. Like if you want something in life, don't say this is my 30-year goal when I retire. It should be like, this should be your goal now.
Yeah. How do
should
I get
be attainable right now. Right. And the thing that I saw my father do this, my father was an entrepreneur. He ran a construction company. He was an owner operator, but he was always working. He never enjoyed life, always working. And now he's 60 something years old, right? And he's got these medical issues and he may not be able to enjoy life the way he thought he would enjoy life. Like I enjoy my life. Like I truly enjoy my life. I'm on my jet ski. I go on vacations. I hang out with my children. If I don't want to go to work tomorrow, I don't have to, right? And to me, that's freedom. That's truly freedom versus somebody who has to go to work every day. And they may love what they do, but that's not, like if you gave them the option, that's not what they want to do, right? So work ethic, comes down to, when it's that old saying where it's like, work hard and you're going to be successful. That's not true because there's a lot of people that work hard.
I think that's very
it's
antiquated.
Working hard and working smart.
Yes, that's
you
what I was just
have to incorporate
gonna say.
both.
Work ethic doesn't just mean effort.
Correct.
It's also execution and what is the output, right? The input it's great to have the input, but what are you actually getting? Because if you're just getting out what you put in, but what if you could create multiples? What if you could expand and create exponential growth?
Yeah, and at some point, working smarter has to overcome the working hard. There's a lot of people out there that don't work hard at all, and they work very smart, and they're living a very, very fruitful life. But in the beginning, they work extremely hard, right? But at some point, it's not the working smarter has to surpass the working harder. That's where I'm trying to get at, right?
Yeah, or you're going to have to just continue to work.
Or you have to continue to work.
And
a lot of people are slaves to earned income.
And it's that input-output thing that we were talking about.
Yeah. That's why I love real estate investing, and I love all the facets about real estate investing because you can truly build wealth and live a very fruitful life from real estate investing, whether it's buy and hold, whether it's, fix and flipping, whether it's wholesaling, whether it's wholesaling, it doesn't matter. But the one thing that's constant amongst everybody that's successful in their own right in those industries, right, is the fact that they can step away from their business and do whatever they want that day. A lot of people are out there working 9 to 5 and they can't take a day off because they're not going to get paid for it. They have bills to pay, and that's not the way I wanted to live. And I lived like that for a while.
Yeah.
So I know that's why I could speak about it because I've experienced it. I really truly did. It wasn't until I started changing my mindset and understanding, wait a minute, there's working hard and there's working smart. And they're both not the same.
I also want to talk, as we start to wrap up here, you were talking about this before we were starting, and you were talking about being on your spiritual journey. Yeah. You recently have really picked up that, and also fitness-wise. I've seen in the last couple of years, I remember when I first met you, you're looking good, man, these last couple of years.
We're going to get some views.
What?
He's telling you to take your shirt off.
Get the views.
Yeah,
we got to get some numbers here.
I'm in pretty good shape right now.
What was the impetus of it? What was that catalyst?
I was never consistent being at the gym. The catalyst was the fact that I have a condition called diverticulitis. And for those who don't know, 40% of adults 35 and over in America actually have diverticulitis. I think 70% don't even know they're walking around with it. Basically, your colon's inflamed. And when you get a flare up, it's one of the most painful things. And I got a flare up last year, and I ended up in a hospital. And it's funny because I was going to doctor, complaining my stomach, and nobody could tell me what it was. And then I went to the hospital, Robert Wood Johnson in Rahway, and then within like 15 minutes, like, good news is you're not going to die, and bad news is you have diverticulitis. Good news is that it's really not that big of a deal, but it is. I was like, oh, okay. So I said, I got to change my entire diet because there's a lot of things I can't eat. I can't eat really vegetables. I'm not supposed to eat like Brussels sprouts, anything that's high in fiber. I got to stay away from it, right? No cereal, no grains, no nuts, no seeds. And for like 15 years, I've been saying, I'm going to go to the gym consistently, and I'm going to, have this beautiful body and this, that, and the other. I want to be strong and this, that, and the other. I want to, obviously take pride when I look in the mirror. And the reality of it is, for a long time, I've been self-conscious about the way I look. And I was like, you know what? I deserve better. My kids deserve better. They need me to be here as long as I can. And I think it's impossible to do that without dieting, without focusing on a gym, and really doing a change of lifestyle. So November, I said, you know what? To hell with this. It's all in or all out. So I said, instead of me like saying I'm going to go to the gym 4 days a week, I'm going to strive to go to the gym every day. And minus 1 or 2 days here and there, I go to the gym every day. I'm stronger now than I've ever been. Like, I'm lifting, not that was my goal, but, with 2 daughters, I guess it is.
Yeah, it's a byproduct. You
want to make sure you beat up those boyfriends.
That's what I was about to say.
But I'm lifting heavy, which is, it's like the metrics, like, is there progression at the gym? Well, what are you lifting now versus when you started? So in November, made a commitment to going to the gym, dieting. I went on a carnivore diet a while back. It worked for me. I know some people like, you're crazy for going on a carnivore diet. A lot of people just are not educated on it. I had to go on a carnivore diet because it's the only diet that I could truly go on that it's not going to irritate my stomach, right? And that's why Jordan Peterson, his daughter Michaela, they're on it, right? It's almost like process of elimination for them. And the reason why carnivore diet ended up working for me is because I eliminated sugars and I eliminated all carbs. And it's the only diet you can go on that truly will do that, will have that effect. So, I eat a lot of red meat, Wagyu, ribeye, salmon, eggs, anything that's a byproduct of animal you can eat, right? As long as it doesn't have any carbs or sugar. And I did that for a couple of months, and it worked really, really well. And I felt my best. And I shed like 15 pounds of fat, within like 5-6 weeks. Like, the transformation was crazy. It didn't have inflammation. My skin wasn't as oily. My mental clarity was there. I had very, very bad case of brain fog, which I thought it was because of COVID for a long time. And it's actually your gut health.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's amazing.
Your diet.
Your gut is your second brain.
Yeah. It's probably your first.
It is.
Yeah. It's probably your first brain, because if gut health is not there, then it's going to affect your brain for sure. And I made a drastic change, and I'm not as consistent with my diet now as I was back then, but now I know what to do and what not to do. I am consistent at the gym. Like, last night, 10:15, I was at the gym. And I love
dedication.
It. And before, I used to make excuses. Like, if I can't go to the gym, if I can't be at the gym for more than 30 minutes, I'm not going to go. Now, even if I can make it to the gym and I only do 20-minute workout or 18-minute workout, as long as I get there, neurologically, what it does for me is incredible.
Yeah. And that's where I think we were talking about success being boring. For me, I'm just myself, consistency is so key. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter if it's a small win, if it's a big win, if it's a small loan that I get in, or if it's a big $2 million loan, everything is treated the same, the way that I look at it. If I get in for 15 minutes or 20 minutes at the gym, or if I can go for 2 hours, I still got there. And the thing is, your brain knows, and you're creating a habit, and it's a pattern. And the thing is that you're training that pattern every single day. And it's amazing how people don't realize how you train your subconscious, how you talk to yourself every day subconsciously. You have to be successful in 3 parts or 3 areas of your life, right? Financially, in your relationships, right, with your friends, your family, right, your peers, and then your physical and your mental. Mm-hmm. Like, if one is lacking, this doesn't work.
right? If two are lacking, a lot of people are very successful financially, but they're not successful in the other two areas of their life. Like, not that I could speak in detail about Steve Jobs, for example, but the rumor has it that he when he passed away lonely, nobody around him.
Yeah.
Nobody you could have I guarantee if you asked him, he had all the money in the world. I'm sure he had some regrets in that aspect.
Well, he was somebody who just was uber obsessed about his work and his projects, and he didn't put a lot of emphasis on his family.
Let's also go back for a second. He was ruthless.
He was ruthless. Yeah, I didn't want to get there, but guys like Gary Vaynerchuk, they have come out and said that he was just not a nice guy.
He was a ruthless guy.
And I can tell you this. I don't know about you guys, but I know that if at my funeral I only had one or two people showing up, I would say that no matter how successful or rich you are, I would say that I was the most unsuccessful person in the world. Right?
Yeah.
I don't look at success as a monetary thing. I think about success as the impact that you leave on others. Yeah. That's your legacy. Whether you're there or not there, that is your legacy, is the impact that you leave on others. The way people see you, they think about you. When you're not there, what did you leave here? Yeah. And I know you're all about that right now.
You're right about that, yeah.
Well, money goes fast, right? When you're not here anymore, your money's gone, right?
Well, also, money's a tool.
But who you were, that's what's going to stick around.
Correct.
Yeah. Money is just simply a tool for you to be able to go out and do things. Money's not everything.
Yeah, and that's the evolution of life. As you get older, you start to recognize and realize that it's about the impact, right? Versus when you're younger, and back to you, as far as like generations today, I don't think it's a lack of work ethic. And I think that a lot of people, I think a lot of younger people just don't have the right guidance. They don't have people around them to tell them, hey, don't do that. And this is why. I've been there, done that. I think that's what it is. It's a lack of a mentor versus, work ethic. I think younger generation today, they have the work ethic, right? I think it's just not having the right people around them and surrounding themselves around people that have the right mindset that are going to be able to guide them. Look, I'm fortunate enough that I had great parents that guided us, all of us. We could have taken a different path in life and we didn't, right? Because we had two parents that were existing that, regardless of everything else that they might have failed in life, they were great at being parents. They were great at making sure that we didn't get in trouble, that we weren't mixed up with the wrong crowd, none of that. Right. And that's why I say there's so many areas in your life that you need to be successful at. But I think it comes to lack of right mentorship, and that's the beauty of what I feel we're doing at Signature as far as impact. I think that all the agents coming in the door, regardless of whatever age they are, but specifically the younger agents, the 18 to 19 to 21 to 24, 25-year-old agents coming in, they have people that they can still relate to. I'm 43, but they could still relate to versus, if I were 60, Matt's age. They can come to us for the right guidance and mentorship because they know they've been here. They and 20 years is not that big of a difference in terms of era for them to say, well, you're unrelatable at this point, right? We're not, but if we were in our 60s or 70s, like Matt.
Well, it makes sense that his bobblehead doesn't look like him because that was Matt when he was 20, not Matt when he's 60.
Correct.
I have aged a little bit.
But, you really hit something that's interesting there that it just kind of coalesced in me is that success and successful people, right, is not, there's no difference between somebody who today who's 60 and successful, who's 40 and successful, who's 25 and successful. Success transcends age gaps, transcends culture, race, religion, everything. So success is simply success. So, and the reason why I brought up the generational thing is because you can see it. There's the things change. The thing that makes you successful change. Real estate is different today than it was 50 years ago. In the 1950s, it did not look like it looked today. Yeah. In 50 years from now, it won't look anything like it is right now.
You're right.
But the success is the same. The attitude, the motions, the thought process, let's go all the way back, people built railroads. Is a land play. It's a build play. It's a labor play. It's the successes are the same. Just the thing is different.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe the thing that, I think younger people need to catch on to a little bit more. When you talk about relatability, success is infinitely relatable.
Yeah.
There's nothing, when you look at somebody who's successful, you can't be like, I can't relate to you. You're so much older than me. Like,
Yeah.
what, you can't relate to success? You can't figure out that that's a good thing.
Yeah. The process and the movement is the same.
Yeah.
Right?
It's all, and I think that you just kind of gave me that nugget. Cause like that just kind of hit me. Like, I wish I could tell that to people. Like, success doesn't matter. You know, it's all relatable. All success is relatable to everything else. Like, you know, if you want to run a lemonade stand and you feel like you can be successful, like it's just another thing.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just mindset. And what you were talking about is when you're younger, you're forced into this scarcity mindset because you don't have a lot.
Well, that's the
And
job
you're trying
thing,
to survive.
right? That's what he said about having
You're
a
just-
9 to 5.
You're just trying to survive. It's hard to get out of that big hole that you've dug for yourself. Or if you're just trying to get started, you're not getting traction. And what's the natural thing for you to do? We're evolutionary built to survive, not thrive.
Correct.
But when does it happen when you have that paradigm shift where you're like, you know what? If I focus on others, if I focus on giving, if I focus on love, if I'm living in abundance, and I realize that if I help others, the more I'm going to be helped. And the thing is, when you're younger, you don't realize that. You're always thinking input, output. Like Mike, that's one of the things he's been saying a lot lately. And you think that if I put in effort, then I'll get something in return. But they don't realize that if you invest and you help others, you're going to get it in return. And that's just abundance mentality. It's hard.
I think that a lot of people just don't sit down and ask themselves, what do I want? Like, what do I want from life? 10 years? What does my life look like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now? Like, if you had an opportunity to have a conversation with yourself, your future self, what would that sound like? What would your future self tell you, your current self?
And that's emotional intelligence.
And it's identity reframe. That's what
Yeah.
it comes down to. You know, and you said it before, it comes down to mindset. It comes down to not having a forecast of your future, of what you want it to truly look like. Because a lot of people just go, they live day to day, but they don't have nothing. They don't have purpose. And, you know, John says it all the time. You have to have purpose. You have to know your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you getting up in the morning, right? Why are you doing this? Why are you sacrificing, you know, this next year or 2 years or 3 years? What's the end goal for you? And a lot of people don't know what their goal is.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people, if you ask them, it's like, oh, I'm just going to work. I'm going to get pension. And, you know, I'm going to retire. I'm going to fish. You know, that's what I'm going to do.
I love your impersonation voice.
Oh, I'm going to go to Dominican Republic. I want to die at the beach. You know, but
so what I will say is to all the listeners out there, if you are younger, if you do feel like you're in a rut, if you do feel like you're living in scarcity, the biggest thing I can empower you to do is find a mentor. And we could talk about a whole thing about mentors, but you need to surround yourself with better people. If it's just through osmosis, just proximity.
Environmental design is a big thing.
Exactly. And that's the one thing I can definitely tell you is
I've
that
had a
my
mentor
life
for 15 years. It was an accident. It was the best thing ever happened to me.
And my life has completely changed. I've gone through so many different layers of life because of having some really good people around me and also a lot of failures.
Change is good, by the way, and it's necessary.
Yes.
You know, long time ago, my brother's like, you're different. I'm like, why? What do you mean? Like, you changed. I'm like, that's what you should strive for.
Yeah. Growth.
Every 10 years, you should be a different person. Like, what you're passionate about today isn't going to be what you're going to be passionate about in 10 years. You know, your experiences will change all of that. The evolution of mankind, or evolution of a human being, requires change. Mm-hmm. Your 60-year-old version is not going to be, it's going to be very different than your 40-year-old version and your 20-year-old version. If you're not changing, that's a problem. Mm-hmm. Don't change your integrity and your values. But you need to change your goals and your outlook and your perspective and your lens in life. You know, that's what you need to change.
But that's because everything around you is going to do it anyways.
Correct.
So if you're going to not go with it, like if you're not going to let yourself change, everything else is going to change.
But many people don't.
Yeah.
You know, like there's folks out there that they are stubborn and they're not going to change, and life goes by and they're just stuck in their same little world.
So as we wrap up here, Mike, if somebody wants to get Michael Gomes.
Okay, I didn't know. You looked at me.
Well, I'm looking at you.
Maybe you had a question.
I'm just looking to you a little bit.
Oh, no, just checking.
How can we find, if somebody wants to contact you, if somebody wants to get involved with Signature Realty, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, a couple of ways. So first of all, if you want to get your real estate license, we actually have a school. It's called Signature Realty Academy. You can go on signaturerealtyacademy.com and you can check it out. We have courses running during the day, courses running during the evening, 75 hours, very easy to attain it. If you want to get in touch with me, you can easily reach me on Instagram. My handle is Mike_A_Gomes. I believe. Can you check that, Joe, if you don't mind? Right, because I've changed it a couple of times. You could also reach me directly. You can call me at 201-757-4760. I don't care about giving out my number. Mike_Gomes. That's what it is. Or you can email me at M as a Michael, my last name, Gomes, Gomez, but an S at the end, at Signature Realty NJ.com. NJ, obviously, for New Jersey. I love helping, especially newcomers. I've been there. I remember my day one when I became a real estate agent. I know that it could be full of anxiety, but here's one thing I'm going to tell you: get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And the sooner you realize that, the quicker you're going to achieve success, right? Get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Mike, I could do this for another couple hours.
Forget about Butcher's Block. Let's go.
Yeah,
Who
Butcher's
cares about
Block.
good meat?
We might have to change our Butcher Block reservation to 8:30. But Mike, we're definitely going to have you back. It was an absolute pleasure. I appreciate
Awesome.
you. Thank you for always being
The
you.
pleasure's mine. Thank you guys for the opportunity to sit in here with you guys and just chalking it up. That's it.
Thanks,
All right.
Mike.
Have a great day, everyone.
Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Mike and Matt Show. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Please subscribe, follow, like, and comment on whatever podcast platform you listen to all of your favorite podcasts. If you have a guest that you would like to see on the show or have a topic that you would like to hear covered, please email us at podcast@alphafunding.com. Again, I'm your host, Matt Weber, and my partner, Michael Strasser. Be the best version of yourself and take action. Life is meant to be explored. Be great, friends.